Therapist perception. Okay, welcome back to Reactivity TV, which is when Catherine and I give our therapist takes on all the trending shows that you are watching, including Succession season 4, which we are loving. And this week we are giving our therapist takes, our therapist perspectives to episode 7 of the final season of Succession.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was like, I was just blown away by this episode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mainly because of the end of it with the argument between Shiv and Tom.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a doozy.
I was like on my toes.
I couldn't look away at all. Yeah.
Wow.
It was. And it's so interesting because we see it. I mean, we've seen it building for like a season, but like especially
the series.
The series. Okay, fair. Yes. Yes, the entire series. But they've clearly never addressed like this betrayal, which we'll get into. But yeah, we see it from the scorpion gift, LOL, to the argument on the balcony. Wow. What a build.
I mean, the betrayal, but they've never addressed anything, and everything came out last night.
It was brewing.
Yeah. I just said last night. I watched it last night. This week.
Yes. So, I mean, I know that will be like the focal point of what we'll talk about today, but I know there was, in addition to Shiv and Tom, there was another relationship moment, source of conflict that also was going on.
Right. So Kendall meets up with his ex-wife, Rava, and Rava talks about how their daughter is really upset and she wants Kendall to call her. And Kendall was very interesting, to say the least, his response, his reaction. But what I really wanted to highlight from that is how peripheral he is and how disconnected he really is from being a father, and that he goes on to explain to Rava, you have no idea all these things that I'm doing, everything that I have my hand in right now, and I'm doing it for them. Mm-hmm. And she would just saw the ridiculousness in that. And I think the audience could too, but he doesn't see how no, you doing all of these business ventures is not making you dad of the year. It's not even putting you in the running.
It's a way that he can rationalize not being part of his kid's life, having no idea what's going on, all of the questionable things he's done in terms of parenting, why he is so absent and peripheral. And Rava is kind of like pulling double duty, but that's it. I'm making the world a safer place and it's all for them. That's his way of trying to justify the role he plays or lack thereof.
So true. Such a disappointment.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also so interesting and maybe shows you where Kendall's head is at currently, or just his perception of himself in general, that he would sort of accuse Rava of not being an active parent, despite the fact that she is the only active parent in their children's lives. That was absurd. And even Rava was like, just so floored by that accusation.
Yeah, she was. You're right. And yet this is a pretty common back and forth between divorced parents who are still in conflict with each other.
Right. It also seems like, based on the way that he kind of strolled up to her and said, like, if this is about legal stuff, like I'm out. Like, it seems like the divorce still isn't finalized. And that's also something that's been going on since the first season. So like there is still this like active conflict that exists between the two of them.
Right. And what's really when I said it's so disappointing, what's disappointing about it is that Kendall's not thinking of his daughter in this conflict. He's not thinking about her and what she needs. Rava's telling him what she needs, but Kendall is totally out of it and not really looking at what does my daughter need? What do I need to do as a dad? He just jumps into the blame game and makes a whole other story out of what's going on, rather than the simplest aspect of it of what do I need to do for my kid?
Right. Yeah, he makes it about him in a way. And it's all like, we see this happen a lot in just relationships in general, where Rava's basically saying, listen, this thing happened to your daughter. It's really complicated situation. This is bringing up a lot. She's kind of on both sides of this. This is, trying to like elicit empathy, I think, from Kendall. And he goes into like problem solver mode, like investigator mode. What happened? Where was it? Why was she out there? Who saw it? And that is what kind of causes the argument. And we see this happen a lot in relationships in general, is like, there is such a miscommunication where, like, if only we could first start with some active listening, some validation, some empathy before we go into like, okay, let's kind of figure out how this happened. I imagine if he had said first, like, oh, like, is she okay? Like, that sucks. I'm like, whatever. I'm so sad she's dealing with this, or however Kendall might put his like CE bro spin on it. Like, like that might have made the kind of investigation go over a little bit better if he had started with that.
So true.
Yeah. So moving on, I mean, I think the theme of this episode was a mix of conflict and betrayal that seemed to be kind of like the through line between all of the kind of relationships going on. I mean, we see betrayal happen amongst the siblings, surprise, surprise. And conflict too, Jerry and Roman. And of course, we see Shiv and Tom. Ooh, wow.
I mean, okay, so I just want to start by saying that my non-therapist self, and I feel like you too, is so Team Tom.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. I want to see Tom thrive.
But my therapist self is seeing all of the hurt that Shiv has gone through and is currently still going through that causes her to act out in the ways that she does.
Yes.
And
I mean,
there's my empathy for Shiv.
I'm so impressed that you're able to get to that place. And I'm like I'm trying to like hold the empathy for her, of course. And like, and thinking about her upbringing and thinking about what was modeled for her and the way that conflict and just communication were modeled. And at the same time, I guess it's not surprising that Shiv has a really hard time taking responsibility for her actions. And I think what was so frustrating for me and why I just was like kind of Team Tom or able to access my empathy for Tom a lot more readily is that she's fixating on this betrayal of like what happened at the end of season 3 where Tom told Logan what their plan was. However, Shiv engaged in a whole lot of betrayal during their engagement and then had the audacity on their wedding night to say we're having an open relationship and not really give Tom a choice at all. And she's treated him with incredible disrespect and has emasculated him up and down for years. And so like there was a part of me when this happened at the end of the 3rd season, I was like, yeah, Tom, like get yours because we've seen him be such a doormat and get so taken advantage of and walked over by Shiv for years. And so there was a part of me that felt so frustrated that Shiv was fixating on that as the betrayal when Tom has experienced years of betrayal after betrayal and disrespect from her. And so it felt unfair. But I guess fairness doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to conflict.
True. Do you think that he so I mean, the whole episode wasn't conflict between them. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of sexting going on. There was a lot of clearly they've been having a lot of sex in general.
And he is tired.
Right. He's tired. Do you think that I guess I'm wondering if he finally felt like I'm at more of an advantage than Shiv. She's hurt right now. She's grieving. I have kind of a leg up here that boosted that confidence in him to be like, I could be with her now. Mm-hmm. This works for me now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that coupled with in our episode of Wishing You Well, where we talked about sex and the role of power in sex. Mm-hmm. I mean, Shiv, unbeknownst to Tom, is pregnant. Probably those hormones are kicking in and she's really eager to engage in sex. I think in one of like the sexting messages, it was something like 30 orgasms or something like that. I mean, and so in a way, Tom has a lot of power in that Shiv really, really like is interested in having sex, and Tom is the one to kind of provide that for her along with pleasure and all of that stuff. So I do think there is this, as you said, she's way more vulnerable now. She also doesn't really have a lot of allies. She's kind of, against her brothers. She's kind of holding the secret that she's kind of Team Matsson. And so she's pretty isolated. And so that also makes her a little bit more vulnerable as well. And Tom a lot more, powerful. So, yeah.
And then she even points out the power, which I just loved the blatant argument that happened. They were clear. This is what I've always wanted. It was everything I've always wanted in this show. Mm-hmm. They were clear and direct, and it was cruel, but it was also clear and direct. And that just made me feel so satisfied in what could actually come of this argument later.
Satisfied is the perfect word. I felt exactly the same way. And I was watching inside the episode, basically, I think that's what it's called, after, and Sarah Snook, who's the actress that plays Shiv, had talked about how the way that she and Michael McFadden had thought about this argument was that they've actually never screamed at each other before. And that you and I had wondered about that. Like, it doesn't seem like they really deal with conflict at all. It doesn't seem like they really talked this out or argued this out at all. And so we saw, again, years of just all of this stuff that's been like right under the surface, just exploding. And not only were they clear and direct, but they were probably the most honest they've ever been to one another, or maybe in general.
Mm-hmm. Yes, probably both.
Yeah. Wow. And this is another time, again, argument aside, and I don't mean to dump on Shiv. I know there's a whole load of people who love her, but
and I want to hear from those people. Can you drop some comments about?
Yes.
What am I not seeing?
Yeah. What are we not seeing? What are we missing with Shiv? Why are people so Team Shiv? What makes her redeemable? I don't understand. Because yet again, she's arguably the most capable of running this company or running a company. But yet again, she completely fumbles and misplays her hand. She's told Tom betrayed her. She said multiple times. She reminds him and us. And yet you tell Tom, the person who betrayed you, all of your inner workings that you're doing with Matsson. And now you've just engaged in this argument. And Tom has everything he needs to kind of detonate this bomb to destroy you. And like, she just continued, she aligned with the wrong guy in the wrong way with Matsson. Like, she just fumbles left and right. Her like thirst for success and getting a very, very, very high level position with Matsson Like it's so blinding for her. And meanwhile, Kendall and Roman, somehow the two kind of dopes, are able to, like, in their alliance, figure it out a lot more effectively. Amazing. So we had predicted that that wasn't the end for Shiv and Tom, that we'd see them come back together in some way.
But now
I think no. Although, like, there is something interesting about their dynamic, right? Like, it works when Shiv is the aggressor and Tom is more passive. And we saw Tom be more of the aggressor this time. And that's what it completely shifted up their dynamic. But there is this part of Shiv that seems attracted to Tom when he wields these power moves. You know, she doesn't respect him, but she seems to be attracted to that. And so, I don't know. He just told her he doesn't think she'd be a fit mother, and she's pregnant. So that seems like a deep wound. Again, a lot to come back from, but I don't know. Their dynamic is so dysfunctional, but there's an argument to be said that, like, maybe they're still having sex. I don't know, but they don't love each other. So I don't think their marriage is, gonna work out. But
honestly, I wonder if we're even going to see her tell her secret that she's pregnant in this season. Yeah. I mean, I obviously, in the world of Succession, it will come out. Can't hide it first ever. But I wonder if we'll get to see it, or if the series will end with us kind of thinking, like, what's going to happen there?
I know. Eek. I don't know. There's only 3 more episodes. I'm getting, like, anxious and sad. See what's going to happen here. But they're all out for themselves now. Like, literally everyone is out for themselves. And arguably the most successful is Greg, just as an aside.
I know.
So I'm very, I know we say this every week, but, like, very interested to see how this continues to unfold. But wow, what an episode, what a season. Yeah. So,
well, we will be back with more. We have to keep reacting to this because we have lots of reactions.
Lots of reactions, hard to contain. But yes, let us know in the comments what stuck out to you about this episode or the season. And definitely please tell us why you like Shiv. We'd love to know. 2 therapists would love to know.
We're struggling.
Okay, see you next week for episode 8.